Alrighty, so this is just We the People News. I don't know if you could read this, okay, but I had to bring it up to kind of show you. Now, you heard me talk about one like kind, right? Well, this is where this comes from, which I cannot pronounce for the life of me. And there's the definition right here, okay, of these three very important words that you want in your documents. Okay, especially if you're standing as the man or you're one of the people, right? How are you the creature of the person? All right. How are you the creature of the state? How are you a creature to the federal government? Where is the citizen nexus attached to that? Okay. Again, this is educational purposes only. Okay. This is just We the People News. Never look straight forward. Always look around you. Always be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Okay? I probably got to rephrase that. Never look straight forward. Always look around you. That way you can always protect yourself by any means necessary. Oh, my goodness. All right. Maybe you can read it. Maybe you can't. I'm going to do a little shake. Okay? Just so I can breaking this up a little bit. Okay? Write that down. I bet you the lower attorneys don't even know what that means. And if you want to put this in your dismissal as well, right? How does this apply to me? How does the statute apply? Right? I'm not a creature of the state, okay? Or a creature to the statute, or a creature to the federal government, okay? We're trying to pull away from 14th Amendment, but there's benefits there, so we don't want to get too far out, okay? But it's always more beneficial to be one of the people, okay? We're trying to take our rights back, but you cannot cram it down their throat, or the judge is just going to say, I don't understand what you're saying. So I'm going to use my sovereign citizen immunity and deny you due process. All right. Basically, what they're doing, and you don't even know it. So let's try to straighten it. And we'll just have him say a couple words.
I'm probably going to embarrass myself with the pronunciation of all of these, but these are all. You won't be alone. Oh, that's good. All the statutory canons that we've the justum generis, nasciere associus, and expressio unis es exclusio arterius, and three of them that apply. Justum generis is I stretch it a little bit. I'll be the first to say that I stretched it a little bit. But just to kind of dive through these things, again, when you have an action that gets commenced, it's being commenced on the side of the road. That is the first interaction of when you stop being a free American and are going through a process, whatever it may be. So in order to do that, you need to understand how the government official is authorized to act, or lack thereof. And if he's not, then you need to get into all of that. So there's.
All right. Let's pause there for a second. Back up a little bit. Okay. I'm going to bring this a little closer so you can probably copy it, read it, and get some understanding on it, okay? All right, well, let's just go with his code right quick. So that way you can look up your code on that. All right. So, educational purposes, and because I'm not an attorney, I'm not giving you legal advice. But he's actually fighting this. Really, I had to go back and relook at the video. Uh, uh, it's a ticket. All right, now I'm led to believe, if I remember correctly, that it's actually fighting this in the criminal aspect. Well, I've talked to you guys about that before in the past, right? I had to say, the idea of fighting your tickets in criminal with such a low fine would give you actually knowledge how to really be able to do anything may be bigger or anything it may be smaller. If you can just get that down and use your tickets as practicing, it's a couple of $100. And then if you want to go a higher course and fight this and all that kind of stuff, then we're looking at $400 or $500 for a couple of dollar tickets. However, order to be an alpha male or an alpha female, we got to stand tall, and we're going to stand as a man and a woman, right, for our natural rights, okay, and back it up with one of the people. How does this apply to me, right? Where's the creature of the state? How did I become a creature of a state? Okay, where did you get this authority? So there you go. Let's listen in a little bit more.
There's a Supreme Court case here that kind of jumps into Justus Generis, and the concept is, it's of like kind, and so in this particular case,
of like kind, right? We're going to dig in there. Man and woman, of one like kind, okay? One of the people, one like kind of political authority, political powers, okay? That's a one like kind, because you cannot be a man with political powers. You have to actually to use your one of the people to instruct them to do righteous things, right? And tell them, spank them on the butt and tell them, no, 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 you're not going to be passing these laws. Which goes back into how you do that as one of the people. You got to take them to your private court under petition, a mandamus, or a petition of regress. Okay, but you don't send it through the courts. This is your private business against your employees. Okay, they're your servant. Okay, now that being said, they're your servant, not your subject. Look the two definitions up. You would understand why First Amendment people are getting so picked on by the government, because they think you're subjects. Okay?
Gentleman was charged with I think stealing an aircraft, something along those lines, if memory serves me correct. But he was charged with a motor vehicle theft act, and they gave the definition of all these motor vehicles, and it was actually overturned because it said no, this guy stole an aircraft is something completely different than the enumeration of definitions here, and thereby you can't charge him with that. And so it's similar when
yeah. So sit and think about that, rewind it, and listen to that deal, right? A guy stole an airplane. They was going after him, and the courts told him they cannot do it because it wasn't transportation. Because they use what? Of one like kind. Okay? A plane is not a car. So, but they used the car laws to try to convict him for stealing a plane. So that was the wrong standing, people. You got to fix the standing part. You got to make sure you always have standing. And these attorneys will trick you, especially if you're pro se. They're going to use court cases in there, don't even apply, and hoping you don't read it and understand it. So it's a very difficult process. But once we start actually digging in there and breaking these things up, they're not going to be sun gung ho on the people. which goes back into this right quick. Okay. So he right? He's clearing up his words. This is the definition he's going by. So there is no misunderstanding from the courts, okay? And from the other attorneys that they're fighting against. He's making sure everything is clear and there's no misunderstanding, which, again, they're going to use trickery words. They've been practicing law for 30 years. The guy's been practicing law 2 years.
You bring up the whole argument here is person. The definition of person in the GA code 40-2-8. And this is kind of the slick stuff that I don't know if I could point the finger at our legislators. I would more rather point fingers at the attorneys and the laziness of our judges, frankly.
And we just did a couple of videos, right? I still put it under the administrative branch, right? They're kind of laying back, our legislatures, kind of give them certain things, the guidelines to go by, and they're the ones rolling poop downhill, right? They're making everybody be in the same what? Umbrella, okay? Of one like kind, okay? And I am in court and doing paperwork, right? It's got private information and all that kind of stuff in it, so I'm not going to show it. And but I challenged the person, right? But I made it clear I'm not that. But the judge still forcefully put me as the person, okay, without my consent. Well, why do you think that is? Because he's trying to benefit the county or benefit the city against me. That's why he's doing it. He should be smart enough when I put on there man or woman and one of the people, right? And by hearsay only, okay? There's a couple of people who was in there and they heard the name of the case, and when we bring it up, oh, you didn't stick around and hear the judge get all over that attorney's butt, right? Because we challenged everything. And even when I do actually have a video a while back, 4 years ago, that I put in there that I do not contract and a couple of other words in there, right? I'm not giving consent, do not wish to contract, deny contract, and all that. Put a bigger red rally, put it into courts. And for a long time, I didn't hear anything about it. They didn't know what to do with me, right? I challenged the 14th Amendment of the subject, or yeah, right? They want me to be a subject. Well, I'm challenging that, So the courts have been kind of in a stuck position and don't know which direction to go. And I'm in a kind of a small, remote area, so I don't know what's going to happen, right? But the judge got mad because of these particular words, and he, the attorney, was in silence acquiescence and did not rebut my stuff as I rebutted his stuff. So, that being said,
but basically the way for them to foreclose or erode your right to travel is to call it something else, and so they do. They call it driving, right? And any person. And so why would they go out of their way to define person? Why, I've never understood that, and until you start diving into it. And it's because certain subjects are bound by certain statutes. If I'm a semi truck driver and I'm traveling from state to state, selling product, delivering product, whatever it may be, I'm going to be bound to certain statutes that discuss those things, right? But me as a private individual, I can't be charged with a statute that's associated with a semi truck driver. So of course it makes sense to define your own terms, right? And just because the word person's in there doesn't mean that it means me. Once you get your head around, persons and how it's lawfully applied, then it starts to make sense. But more or less, you take a look at the enumeration of persons, which person is defined in the same title. 40-1-1 43 person means every natural person, firm, partnership, association, corporation, or trust. And once we get a bit further into this, you'll realize that it has to be of like kind, right? We can't.
Has to be a like kind. All right, this video is long enough. There we go. All right. So it did have people in there, but it's got to be in a different jurisdiction, right? I am one of the people. I'm over here. Now, where's the statute, codes, rules, and regulations that says people over here? There ain't none, right? But that's where my standing is in the people section. All right, I digress. This is just the Way the People News. Bye, y'all.